Boom. We are live for the Halloween edition of Going the Distance. Dressed up as a smart person this week. Took the old plunge with the here. These are real. They're not fashion classes. I guess that's what they're called. The kids are calling them. I don't know. Hadn't been able to see for a long time. And I finally took the old plunge here for the spectacles. I actually got 2 pairs. Actually, I should probably let y'all. Actually, I'll be right back. So there's all these really cool things now, or places, I guess you would say, that let you, because of the interweb, they've made glasses so much cheaper. So these places do like 2-for-1 deals. So we've got these bad boys, or what I call my hipster smart person shades. So you guys in the comment section are gonna have to let me know which ones you think look better. I don't know. You tell me. Those. They all look crooked on this screen. I promise they're not crooked in real life. Boom, boom. But they are all real. Yeah, John Lennon, or one of my favorite coaches, wears glasses like these too. So kind of inspired by them. Yeah, they're very John Lennon-esque. I have a small face, so glasses were hard. Yeah, everybody keeps telling me they like the black better. I guess I'll just save the circle ones for when I write my Opus Magnus White Album inspired album, whenever I finally get around to writing a music album with my instruments, I guess. So yeah, if anybody's ever had glasses or contacts, I got these literally last night. I've had them about 24 hours. I've got major headaches right now. It's been intriguing being able to see again. It's messing with my depth perception, but I guess that's normal when you have these things and you haven't been able to see. The thing is I got like one really good eye and then like one really terrible eye. So my right eye's been compensating for a lot of stuff over the years and getting the job done. But, I finally can see again. It got to the point where I couldn't like read the TV screen when stuff came up on the TV screen. So I finally did that. Dad missed the other one. So we're going to show Dad. And we'll do this a couple of times throughout the podcast. But I got 2 options here. All these places now you can do like 2 for $60 or 2 for $80 or something like that. And a free thing. So I like to think these make me look smarter than I actually am. As you all know, I literally just repeat what smart people say, what smart people tell me. I have to trust smart people. But yeah. Yeah. Rubus, what's up, man? Yeah, the knit hat, Target, man. Target. And rocking my High Point shirt right now. So for those that haven't heard, I've now, as of I think about a month now. Yeah, right at a month. Been helping out with High Point University's cross-country team. As a volunteer, I'm not the guy. I'm just a guy that shows up some and hangs out. And the coaches there are dear friends of mine and have been for a long time. So they reached out. They needed the men's coach needed some help with the guys' team. They were bringing me in to kind of be the hoorah guy, kind of try to help kind of inspire things. They'd had a couple of rough rough meets early on in the season, and he even though Esposito, who's coached in high school and coached at the collegiate level for well over 30 years, I think he's in about his 35th year of coaching. He's incredibly smart and knew when to reach out for help. And I've gone over there and try to do that to the best of my ability. You know, I like to think that I've certainly had an impact in the short time that I've been there, but it's been a lot of fun to kind of be around the collegiate athletics again. It's funny because and everybody goes through these stages in life, and I was talking about this the other day, like when I was younger, when I was 18, 19, 20, 22, 24, I thought I wanted to be a college coach. And that was kind of everything in my life. I was like planning around that and getting ready to do that. And then I really just, I don't want to say fell out of love with the college system, but I thought about then maybe coaching professionals and then down the road. And then most recently, I've really been into the idea of helping track and field from the standpoint of being a meet promoter and being a meet director and getting those that side of the sport set up because there's just I think a lot of good that can be done from somebody that spent a lot of time in the system, and somebody that spent a lot of time in the system and seen good and seen bad and knows where improvements can be made. And so that's kind of been my goal over the last couple of years, is kind of angling myself to do that and to become a, kind of a meet director, meet promoter. Eventually, I've obviously, some of you are my athletes that are on here, but I coach athletes, everything from youth to 20 to basically, we won't tell ages on the top end, but in that neighborhood of 50 plus. I know you're not supposed to tell people's ages, apparently. But yeah, so I've got some clients that are in their late 40s, early 50s, and as young as 12 years old. And they're a lot of fun. And getting back to coaching has really kind of reminded me how much I like the nuts and bolts of it all, and working to figure things out. And that's kind of what this High Point thing has been like. I stepped into a situation where they were about 3.5 weeks out from their conference championship, which is the most important race of the year, which we kind of talked about some last week. And, at that point in time, the bulk of the training's been done for the year. So there's not a lot of effect that you can have physiologically on things. So my job over the last couple of weeks has really been to help with pack running, kind of help change their mindset at practice and as we go into races, and try to get them excited, try to get them to relax and have some fun with it. Because when you are having fun doing something and you really enjoy it, it makes it easier to invest in it. And that's what I wanted to show these kids, because they haven't quite been able to have that ability yet. And it's, I think we made a big step forward. The women who I've loosely worked with, they've been crushing stuff. I just clap as they come by and say, great job. Cause they've done a tremendous job. They ran away with the Big South Conference title on the women's side. They had the individual winner, and they put 6 other girls in all conference positions, which I think top 12 is all conference. So half of the all conference performers were literally from High Point University. On the men's side, we put 1 all conference performer, and we had the freshman of the year. So the fastest freshman in the conference, we had him, and we ended up finishing 3rd, which was, it was a miserable day. It was 40 degrees. We were hosting here in the area, one of the local cross country courses. It was 40 degrees outside, pissing rain, and windy. The course got really sloppy. It's a 2-kilometer loop. that you run over and over. So for the women's race, they ran 2.5 loops basically. In the men's race, they ran 4 loops. So it was just absolutely miserable out there. And especially as you have, hundreds of runners looping the same areas over and over, where it really muddied. The course got really sloppy by the end of the day. Even though it was just 2 races, but by the end of that last race, some of those turns were really treacherous. The conditions were brutal, but the kids showed up and they got third. Going into it, we knew that first and second were kind of away. Something tragic would kind of have to happen up front for like somebody's team getting food poisoning, or one of them having 2 people or 2 of their best runners drop out. Like there just wasn't really a chance for us to beat those teams up front as long as they did what they were supposed to do. But we were in a dogfight to be 3rd, 4th, 5th, or potentially even 6th place in the conference, and with several other teams. And the guys showed up and they listened and they stuck to what we had practiced over the last couple of weeks, and what we'd really trying to been emphasize. And it, emphasizing pack running. And I've talked on here a lot too about like running in groups, and that just makes things so much easier than doing things by yourself. It's a grind when you're working really hard by yourself. And it's one of the things that we were so good at App State, and most cross-country programs that have ever had any success. You gotta work in groups, and the guys really did that on Saturday, and they kept it together and kept that group of runners that we were looking to be our number 2 through number 6 runners. We wanted them to run together as long as they possibly could. They kind of separated a little bit over the last mile, a mile and a half, but they ran the bulk of the race together. And by that point in time, they were in good enough positions, and they all hung on and didn't lose any places over the last mile. And we were, able to lock down thirds. And it was just, despite the absolutely, I think I was still cold until like Sunday afternoon, and the race was on Friday. I mean, I was cold to the bone out there, but it was a lot of fun being part of something successful like that again, and feeling like you had just even a minor role in the success that those guys had. And hopefully we can build on that going forward as a team. We return everybody, so that'll certainly be interesting. It was just so much fun. I haven't had that much fun at a cross country race in a really long time, and I was in really, really good spirits from it. So guys, really, really good job. I know none of you are probably listening to this, and probably never will, because you hear too much of me during the week anyway, but God, it was so much fun being part of a successful group again. And like I said, third was successful for us. There's certainly teams that that I've been a part of that third place would have been disappointing. And hopefully we can get back to that place within a year or two. And I don't know what my role is going to be with this going forward, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens and see where this takes me. Because it's kind of opened up something in my brain that I'd kind of closed off. So you just never quite know where life's going to take you sometimes. And it was, excuse me. You got to leave yourself open to opportunities, right? You got to leave yourself open to opportunities and things that you enjoy. It's definitely something that I think I have a knack for, and I think I'm fairly good at least. I've managed to retain a few clients, and the kids at the college level seem to be responding to what I'm saying right now. So it's going to be interesting to see going forward what all happens with this gig, whether it'll be something that I try to make a full-time position, because obviously it's nothing with a full-time college position will happen for at least another year and a half or two 2 years until I'm done with my own running. Because till then, I'm going to be really selfish, and there'll be times with this where my running will have to take precedent over those kids, and that's why I'm a volunteer. I just show up and do what I can, and help out where I can. Like yesterday, I hopped in some of their workout, and there's times of the year where I can't really afford to do that because of my own workouts and things, and we're just kind of getting back into things right now. So I'm just doing a bunch of general jogging. So if I goof up and get sore from helping out a couple of kids in some intervals, it's okay right now. I'm not trying to do, we're not trying to do a load of work right now. So I've got that opportunity to really, really help them and hopefully teach them some stuff. And it's been weird. It's been something that I didn't realize how much I don't want to say missed it, because I've never really been in that full environment as a college coach. But now I definitely remember why I thought I wanted to do it. But hey, there's a lot of things I enjoy doing. Heck, I enjoy playing guitar. And if I ever got on stage again, I'd probably realize that I missed that too. So, you never know where life's going to take you. You just kind of got to be open to possibilities, and just keep doing stuff that makes you happy. So, and sometimes there's multiple things that make you happy. Rubus, we know you, at least I know there's a lot of these people that probably don't know. You are a volunteer assistant at Carroll. You're a stud. We know that. But anyways, for anybody that's been recently popping on here, these glasses are real. If anybody else has got an opinion on it, whether the black rims look good or whether or not we should go with the John Lennon circles, which I think make me look smarter. And since this is a podcast where we're trying to spread information and wisdom and talk about things, maybe I should reserve those for the podcast. But if y'all say these look better, then guess we got to go with what looks good, right? Because we're all a little vain, right? Especially the amount of selfies we all take. But yeah, speaking of selfies, you might have seen my post on Monday, on Motivation Monday, about sharing your victories, sharing your either victories over vasculitis or your victories, or the whatever motivates you and gets you through the week. Those are, I think, certainly something that needs to be put out there. There's, obviously some people's social media you can go to for inspiration. I like The Rock personally. But I think a lot of us have a lot of things going on that we could really lift other people up through, or share how we got through a moment, because that's really, I realized there's like a misunderstanding about how people get through things and get through tough moments. And I think that's something that's, helps a lot of people. I think it we are way more connected now than ever before. It's easier to stay connected to your friends and your family and people from your past than it's ever been, right? And you're inundated with all this information and things that they're doing, and things can look rosy because you just see people posting, right? They're posting fun, exciting stuff. They're like, look at this trip I'm on in Colorado, man, skiing down the mountain. Or look at me, I'm sitting on the beach with my tiki my tiki drink and reading a book and watching the waves. And you see all these adventures, and you don't realize that most people most days are grinds, and most days are tough, and we don't see that because we see everybody else's like best moments, right, on social media. And I think it's important to kind of remind yourself and remind other people that like what you're seeing is not always a representation of who people are. It's one of or what they do or the life that they're actually living. I do the best to do that. It's why I even kind of try to have this rule to the bet. Now, obviously, sometimes like if the picture doesn't come out, you can't do it. But I try to kind of have this rule with my posts of like I don't try to flip through it and find the picture where I feel like I look the best at. I just try to get one picture and go with it. I don't take 40 pictures and find the one where the lighting's perfect, my face is perfect, or my running form looks perfect. It's trying to give you an accurate representation of who I am. Maybe my eyes look cross-eyed, or I do have a lazy left eyelid thanks to Bell's palsy that I got before they first got sick. While I was sick initially before they diagnosed me with vasculitis, I got Bell's palsy. For those of you that don't know what Bell's palsy is, they're the nerves that control the muscles in your face come out of a tiny little hole here, actually right by your ear. So they come off. It comes off of your spinal column, and that nerve comes up into the little hole here and spreads out into your face. Well, because of all the infections that I'd had in my ears and sinuses and stuff, somehow I got an infection there. Yeah, right here on the left side. It's confusing when you're looking at yourself, but I got an infection over here, and I never completely got all my because what happens is the infection swells in that hole, cuts off the signals for the nerve, which stops your face from working. So I had one side of my face that wasn't working, kind of similar to what somebody who maybe had a stroke look like. But when I smiled, it was kind of like this, or when I talked, it all was out of the right side of my mouth because the left side of my face didn't work, which was super fun and exciting for several months there. But it never came back perfect, and my left eyelid's been a little lazy since then. And also is the reason why I kind of need glasses. That's when my left eye first started kind of going bad, was shortly after that. Something happened with all that nerves and jazz, plus the fact that I'm just getting older and not getting any younger here. And my eyes are going and my back's going. And before you know it, I'm going to need a walker to get around. But till then, we're going to keep running really fast in circles. But yeah, actually, I'm going to have to figure out whether or not I want to run with glasses on too, or racing glasses, or try to get contacts. Luckily, I can see well enough that I'm not completely blind. I'm having trouble reading things, but I can still see people and see things. I don't know. Let me know what your thoughts are. Or what you do if you have glasses. There's a lot of you out there that probably have glasses or contacts. So that might be the next plunge. I don't know. I don't like the idea of play with my eyeballs all the time. I'm a little squirmy when it comes to that. But if I can get over getting poked in the veins all the time for blood tests and stuff, I'm sure I can get over playing with my eyeballs. But we've completely digressed. Oh, so back to the social media and the posting thing. And I think, you don't need to necessarily share and be like, oh, I'm really down and depressed today. You don't have to do that. You don't have to be vulnerable. But I think what helps other people is sharing and showing people how you might have gotten through a tough moment, how you found the strength to do that. Because that's something that I get a question about a lot, because people, I think, kind of assume I have this bottomless pit of energy, which I feel like I have at times. Other times it's not there, but I don't always have this bottomless pit of energy or motivation to pull from. Sometimes I reach down in there and it's just not there. There's, you go to latch onto something or pull something out and it's just not there. I sort of had that moment Saturday. I had a bit of a moment today on my run with it when you're just really slogging through stuff and stuff doesn't feel good. And you've kind of got to, figure out how you're going to get through it and what you're going to do. And when you do kind of have those aha moments, and you find a new form of motivation, or you think of something that motivates you, which Saturday it was all of you. And I know I say that a ton, but it really was like I was struggling that day with motivation and wanting to get out the door and trying to squeeze things in as I've gotten busier again. And, you have those thoughts of like, I'm having a lot of fun and success at these other things. Is it still worth running right now? Is it still something that I want to do? And those moments creep in. And they creep in sometimes when times are really tough, and sometimes even when things are going really, really well. Because you realize it's such a difficult thing to do, to constantly be pushing yourself and constantly trying to get better. And I'm not the only person that struggles with it. And I think that's why it's important to share with people how you get through the process, right? Because it's not always, we all see these stupid motivational memes or posts now that people put that are just so generic. And like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, or whatever cliche motivation thing you can think of or find right now. But it doesn't really tell you how have I did it? How did I find that? How did I do this? How do people do that? How do people, when they are down and depressed or struggling with motivation, how do they find it within themselves to do that? And that's what I've been trying to share with y'all. And that's what I shared on Saturday. And then what I kind of challenged everybody to share with here on Monday is share how you get through something, where you found that motivation from when you didn't think you had any. And I think it'll help a lot of other people, because there's a lot of people that struggle. There's a lot of people that wake up every single day and go to a job that they don't like, and they've got to find the motivation to get out of bed sometimes. Sometimes that motivation is feeding their family. But there's definitely times when I know that they're not happy with what they're doing. So they have to dig down and find those reasons to keep going forward, to keep moving forward, to keep putting one foot in front of the other, and not give up. Because it's so hard. It's so easy to give up sometimes. And especially when nobody's around and nobody's looking, and nobody would certainly, sometimes nobody would blame you for giving up or giving in, because we all do it. We've all had those moments of weaknesses where we walked away from something, and then later on you're slightly disappointed in yourself. So try to share those things, people, because especially as the election kind of stumbles up here, especially as that kind of like meets us face to face here in a week or 6 days from now, right? There's going to be an election, and things will or won't change hands as far as who's in control of what parts of government, both locally and nationally, for everybody. Those are going to be some trying times again, and there's going to be a lot of vile and filth out there, and a lot of it, probably, especially on apps like Twitter and stuff, a lot of it's going to be fake, and I'm not saying hashtag fake news, but we do know that there's tons of bots and stuff out there that they're pushing rhetoric on both sides that is dangerous. And I think we need to, while social media can be a brilliant tool, I think we need to use it a little differently, and maybe there needs to be a little bit more. And this is just my own opinion, and I'm way out on a limb here, but maybe there does need to be a little bit more, you know, and I hesitate to even say this because uh, I'm doing something which is a freedom of speech thing, and I don't want to say uh, I don't want to curtail people from even things that are vile and hateful. People still have a right to say that, but I think people that are pushing inauthentic things that aren't real, accounts that aren't real, accounts that don't have people behind them, and are just pushing other content that are being published by, somebody to help sway something. I think we need to find a way to regulate those type of things, because we're so used to hearing things and talking to people, and it's one per one, right? Like you're talking to somebody, and that's their opinion. It's not like thumbing through Twitter and something may or may not be that person's opinion. They may be tweeting or retweeting something that's coming from something that's not real. So I think we just need to all be really, really careful in the next week, and remember that we're all connected to this stuff, and we're all on this rock flying through outer space together. And it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We all need to work to fix things together out of a place of love and compassion and caring, as opposed to a place of pointing fingers of who's right and who's wrong. And I think being a little bit vulnerable on social media and sharing how you got through things and sharing positive things that can lift yourself or other people up in a difficult time, I think can be very powerful. So that's my message right now before shit could hit the fan next week again all over social media, as people head to the polls, as a major election happens again here. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and how the rhetoric of the country changes, how the conversation changes here in the country, and what happens. There's a lot of palpable energy out there. There's, I talked about it when I was in DC. There's a tension in the air, and there's, a lot of people are on edge about this, and it's not, everybody's on edge, regardless of where you're at on the political spectrum, which most of us are somewhere kind of in the center anyways. There's a lot of tension there, and people are nervous. People are scared, and I don't think that's good. So I do definitely encourage everybody to get out and vote, because I think that's the most important thing that you can do as an American citizen. And I think we do one thing that can be said about everybody is that we're supposed to be living in a representative democracy. And the idea of a representative democracy is putting people in power that represent our beliefs. And I think there's a ton of people up there in politics that represent themselves and the people that they're beholden to financially. And there's corporate politicians on both sides. So I don't think that that's a shocker to anybody. And I think we all need to vote for people that we feel like are going to represent us as people and what we want as a society, not people that are beholden to certain benefactors. So the only way to do that is to go out and vote. And it's I think it's the most important thing you can do as an American citizen, I guess, outside of contributing to society in a meaningful way. But there's tons of ways to vote now, without ways, but with early voting and everything, in most places, you should have the opportunity to get to the pole. So definitely do that. I encourage everybody to do that. Or if you're like me, you might have to travel to do it. So you gotta do what you got to do to make sure that your vote is heard and cast. So that's kind of my spiel for the week. I know it kind of was all over the place a bit, but a couple of things I wanted to go over, and I know that we haven't announced this yet officially with the foundation or with the Vasculitis Foundation, but the new campaign that they are starting is called the Journey to Diagnosis. Every year there's what the Vasculitis calls is like an annual appeal, and it's going to be the kind of the foundation's focus for the next year. And your boy's got some insider info that he's allowed to share. So I guess it's not really insider info, but it's not really been put up yet. But you're going to see myself and a lot of other people that are involved with the foundation, the Vasculitis Foundation, and other patients. We encourage you to share, especially as Giving Tuesday comes up. But what the foundation is really, really working on is that journey to diagnosis and cutting that time down to diagnosis for so many patients. For me, I know it was 7 months of what seemed like hell and trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And for somebody with the vasculitis that I have, that 6 to 7 month is a pretty normal time. But there was a patient that I was meeting with, or we were not me. I wasn't meeting with them personally, but there was a patient that was at the chapter meeting that I was at on Saturday in Chapel Hill here. That suffered for over 2 years trying to figure out what was wrong, and that's just absolutely unacceptable. And we know with research that the earlier that you are diagnosed, the better chance of you living I don't want to say more normal life, but you having a better chance at not having as many problems with your type of vasculitis. So there's better chance of remission the earlier you catch it. And it's less, even at the end of the day, even if it's less suffering for a few months for people, and cutting that down, I think is incredibly important. And that's one thing that the Vasculitis Foundation has been working towards for a very long time, is continuing education programs for doctors, because this is one of the things that happens when you've got a really rare disease. There's a lot of doctors that hear about vasculitis or other types of autoimmune diseases or rare diseases once or none during medical school. Sometimes if they are at a place like Chapel Hill, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, where there is a vasculitis center, and there's certainly some vasculitis centers at other hospitals around the country, but there's only a handful, and they might not have had a lot of exposure to it. They don't understand it. They don't understand the disease. They don't understand like the pathology of all of it. They don't understand treatment protocols, and how you're kind of trying to hit a moving target sometimes, or sometimes you're just, as my doctor has said, we're just going to throw the whole kitchen at you. And, they don't completely understand how to treat it, how to deal with it, or even diagnose it, or even what it is. So we're trying to cut down on that. We're trying to get materials into the hands of doctors so that they understand more about the disease, so people don't have to suffer. And I know I can speak from my own experience and talking to other patients, that time period between when something starts happening to you and and there's not an initial fix to your illness, and you don't get better after being on medications like you have for the previous times in your life, you feel like you're going crazy. Not only you're obviously sometimes in a lot of pain, and you know, dealing with some really horrible side effects from the illnesses, you feel like you're going crazy because you feel like there's something else going wrong with you that they can't figure out, and it will literally drive you insane. And we want to get rid of that. We want to cut that down. Now, obviously, you can't test everybody that walks into uh, an emergency clinic with a sinus infection. You can't run the test on them for vasculitis, and I understand that. But we want to cut that down and get the tools in the hands of doctors to diagnose it, to understand it, because I have to travel an hour to see my doctors. Right now, one of them is also like 5 hours away. And for myself and many other patients, we have to travel. Some have to travel 8, 10, 12 hours. Some have to take a plane flight once a year to see somebody. And then they're referring treatment back to a doctor that's local. And then you have to deal with that doctor's ego. And it's absolutely maddening to hear on a regular basis from patients all over the world and all over the country, to hear about local doctors that don't listen to doctors at places like University of Chapel Hill or Mayo Clinic or John Hopkins or the Cleveland Clinic, places like that will because of insurance laws and rules, they can't necessarily, and time and travel distance, they can't necessarily be the ones that are prescribing all the treatments, and they have to rely on somebody local there to do that, oftentimes a rheumatologist. And then that rheumatologist might have had some experience with it or might not have, and they might automatically default to what those people are saying. But there's oftentimes, when I'm hearing from patients a lot, unfortunately, these days, is for some reason, the local doctor has an ego about what they know and what they don't know, when they may have seen 1 or 2 cases of it before ever, and they think that they might know more than some of the best doctors in the world about how to treat it. And they change the treatment protocols. They refuse to prescribe certain things. And it just gets ugly because the patient is the one that ends up suffering. And because of our current laws and rules, and with the availability of treatment options, it's really scary, and it's something that I want to help fix. So I didn't have any hand in creating this campaign. It's not something like the Victory Over Vasculitis campaign that will, of course, still be going on and that we're going to continue to push. But it's going to be the annual appeal for the Vasculitis Foundation. Is something that being somebody that talks to patients on nearly a daily basis, is something that I think is incredibly important, because it's going to have a direct impact on people's quality of life. And that is what makes a difference in these people's lives that are diagnosed with something that's rare and dangerous and scary. And we want to make that transition as easy as possible. So that's what the new kind of campaign, or annual appeal campaign, I guess it's called, will be for 2019 going forward. So you'll be seeing some stuff in the coming months about that. Giving Tuesday is coming up here soon, so you're going to see myself and other people that are part of the Vasculitis Foundation sharing a lot of things about giving to, hopefully the Vasculitis Foundation. But on Giving Tuesday, we encourage you to give to whatever your foundation of choice is. It's an annual event in November every year, where people are encouraged to give to a charity or a foundation of their choice. Obviously, the Vasculitis Foundation is near and dear to me, so that's what you'll be hearing from me. Athletes Biz has actually stepped up and gonna help me promote and some other athletes promote some foundations of their choice. So you'll be seeing some things coming your way here very shortly that you can click and share and if you're not a patient diagnosed to. You know, the how can I say this? You know, it obviously patients, if you have the means to give something, that's great. But we're not the ones that you know, I feel like should be the ones that should be giving, because we need to be the ones receiving, because we're already having to shell out thousands and thousands of dollars every year just to stay alive. And that foundation should be there to help us. But I do understand that sometimes you got a few spare dollars to donate, and that's obviously welcome. But we want to encourage other people to share here in the future. So look for those things coming up. And I will say to anybody out there that is interested in attending the International Vasculitis Symposium next summer, that will be July 19th through 21st in Minneapolis, Minnesota, at a convention center right near the Mall of America. So you like to do shopping, it's a good excuse to take a trip to Minneapolis. And Minneapolis is actually a gorgeous city. I like it a lot. I've had fun every time I've been there, and I've been there 4 or 5 times, I think. So anyways, that's what I got for everybody this week. Sorry, we're a bit all over the place. My brain scrambled from putting these new spectacles on my face. I'll tell a quick spectacle story, one which I find appropriate right now. So I have mentioned before on here, you know, I did write a book, right? So I wrote a book, but fun fact, I'm twice published, actually. I published a book, and I was the lead author on a research paper in graduate school. So 2-time published author, 1-time F. Yeah. 1-time F in English high school. And this was the type teacher that I had in English. We were reading The Scarlet Letter, which might be the worst book ever written, like ever in the history. Why 10th grade English kids need to be reading The Scarlet Letter is still beyond me. In fact, this class actually ruined reading for me for about a year. But luckily, I had an amazing teacher the next year, or 2 years later. No, the next year. And I was able to rediscover my love for reading, and have pretty much done nothing but read nonstop since then, mainly Star Wars books. But you know, you gotta read what you love. But anyways, my teacher was such a pain during that book, or during that class, that I just felt like I could never answer questions right for whatever reason. And I remember the case of us having a test on the Scarlet Letter, and we, you know, she gave us tests or quizzes or whatever you want to call them every couple of days while we were supposed to be reading the book. And it's like, you know, what did whatever character it was during the book, because I can't remember now, because it's been 16 years since I read that book, or 15 years. And a character would take something off and put it on his nightstand before they would go to bed every night. And the question asked, what did they put on their nightstand? I said glasses, i.e. these, right? These bad boys, glasses. Well, the correct answer was spectacles, because I guess spectacles aren't glasses. I don't know. But anyways, I got the answer wrong, and that's just kind of how I described that entire semester of English in a nutshell for me. It almost ruined it all, but came out on the other side of it, and somehow managed to cobble a few words together with the help of John in actual book format, which I hear from some of you is not completely terrible. So I guess in the end I won, but at the time it was absolutely miserable. But it was actually the first thing I thought about when I got glasses the other day, which is disappointing and comical all at the same time, that a high school English teacher can scar you that bad. So anyways, guys, you've been great. Thanks for listening to me ramble. I might have missed a few comments here. I'll try to go through. Mary Frances, yeah, I run with glasses. I don't have yeah. Um, that's interesting. You know, I often too wonder if my eyes getting so bad here in the last couple of years, especially. It seems like they've gotten worse since my last relapse. If it might have gotten in there and scrambled some stuff. I don't know. I actually haven't been to an actual, because there's a difference between like a doctor for your eyeglasses and a doctor that would look at a disease in your eyeball. Quite frankly, I just don't want to add another doctor to the list right now. So this is working, so we're going to go with that right now. But everything's in remission, so we're all good right now. Who needs to see, right? and don't expect me to get hearing aids now. I will say that too. I'm not going to get hearing aids now. So, all right. Well, as always, guys, you've been incredible. Keep inspiring me. That's what I'm gonna say. Keep inspiring me to do this. It's incredible being a part of this, guys, and I thank each and every one of you for contributing to this this thing we've got going. So till next time, we'll be back next week. Make sure you give out apples on Halloween to all those things, because candy's bad for kids. Psych, give them all the candy you can give them. Kids ought to be able to have some candy every once in a while. I may have eaten the rest of a giant bag of M&Ms today to drown my sorrows from a bad run. I can be really unhealthy too, guys. But anyways, guys, you've been awesome. I love all of you. We will see you next week. Until then, we're going to say go out and vote next week. Till then, love you guys. Bye.